Good to see you.
I know, this is super exciting. So, you know, I'm glad that we reconnected recently in more of a professional, right, environment,
Yeah.
professional landscape, which is so cool and exciting. And I have to tell you, I'm incredibly happy and proud to have the opportunity to do this with you. I can't think of anybody else I would want to do this with, especially being, that you're now a professional colleague of mine. So just, to start off, would you mind just kind of sharing, if I asked you how we first came to work together?
Sure. I was thinking about this, and I think we must have first started working together like a decade ago.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
about that now. About
Yeah.
that.
I had just graduated high school. I had gotten kicked out of my first college that I went to very abruptly. And then I was trying to matriculate back, and things were uncertain. And somehow I came across, or my parents came across, New Frontiers in Learning. And I think I was like, what, one of five clients?
I think so. It was four or
Right at the
five when we
beginning.
started. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was trying to get back on my feet, and I was dealing with some like personal mental health, substance use issues, and I knew I had to get through school, and I didn't think I could do it. And, my parents were like, go to New Frontiers in Learning. And I was like, I don't think so, you know, but I showed up, and the rest is history. And I mean, immediately it was like very welcoming. You guys were so welcoming and made me feel comfortable, and over time made me feel confident in my abilities. Um, and the rest is history.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it's been this long. So catch me up. Like, what are you doing now? I mean, give me the specifics.
So, I graduated undergrad. I
I do. I
graduated.
was there, sat right in
Were
between
there.
your parents.
And that was a 7-year journey to try to get through undergrad. And then, with the confidence I had from working with you guys and working through and having success and academically, I went pretty much straight into grad school. Went and got my master's in social work at Hunter. And throughout that, I'd always been working in like substance use, substance abuse treatment, and using my lived experience with substance abuse. And after I graduated, I was lucky enough to get connected with Audrey Freshman, who's the director at Center for Living, and she gave me an opportunity, and I've just really been enjoying it. I'm doing a lot of admission stuff, doing intakes, really, working hard in and promoting and building up this. We have an evaluation and stabilization program, which is, for clients who, like me, were not totally ready to get on the treatment train for substance use, and so need a little bit of extra push before going into one of our other programs. So I work with them for about a month and a half, and try to get them on the right track. And have also taken on our recovery coaching program. So supervise about 4 coaches, and have them really use that medium of lived experience to really help our clients. So I got my hands full in
For
the
sure.
substance use world.
Yeah.
But again, it's been such a great journey, and I'm just loving what I'm doing now, and loving working at Center for Living.
It's great. Yeah. And I was so happy to hear that you were there, because they're good colleagues of ours and they run an amazing program. And, we had kind of done that collaborative meeting together, right, between New Frontiers and Center for Living a couple of weeks ago. And they had told me you were going to be there. But then to actually see you there, like, I don't know if you noticed, I had like an emotional reaction, a response to it, because I was like, wow, like, we worked so long together, right? And kind of lived that journey together. And then to see you kind of on the other side now of, transitioning from, being the one receiving the coaching and pushing yourself through to being on the other side of it and now giving back, right? And coaching kind of, your own clients in the way that, is your area of expertise it was just very emotional for me to see that, how far you've come and to have you allowed me to be part of that journey, which, was incredible, and that we're still here, right? And now we can have different kinds of conversations than we've had in the past.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that transition. Like, what was that transition like from you, for you, from going from kind of, being in school and learning to then kind of transitioning into that professional landscape?
Well, I think, it was definitely just I can just speak to my particular journey. It was a lot of hard work, a lot of determination, and there's, I don't know, it just seems like you receive a lot of help, and I needed a lot of help from you guys and from other areas in my life. And it was one of those things where it was like, now it's time, you kind of graduate into, and not just graduate from school, but you graduate into an area where you can say, I've received this help. I needed it. It saved my life. It's now time for me to kind of turn around and give back. So in that way, it was like a very natural transition. But like I think I've said before, it's you think you struggle and you're like, I can't do it, and then all of a sudden I'm sitting here and I'm running a program and I'm like managing all these clients, and I'm like responsible for them, and I'm trying to be that helper that people were for me. And you realize that you can do a lot more than you think you can,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden you're sitting here and you're like, wow, I need to reflect on where I've come from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been some of the greatest learning and most rewarding work I've done.
That's awesome. And speaking of rewarding,
Yeah.
and getting off the topic of professional and making me feel even older than I do feel already,
Yeah.
you recently become a father.
Yes.
Which I can't even believe those words are coming out of my mouth. And being a mother myself, what's been the most surprising thing about that life transformation for you? Because we haven't even gotten a chance to talk about that. And that's a whole new part of your world that I wasn't part of when we were working together. So what's that been like?
Well, I think one of the more striking things just overall is that you learn pretty fast. I'm sure most parents can relate that you're capable of so much more than you think you are. Like more love, more care, more patience than you ever thought you had, and being able to do more on less sleep than you ever thought you would get.
For sure.
But, my daughter was born right at the beginning of the pandemic, and so it was a tough transition into parenthood, and you kind of set things up to have have a village available to help, and then all of a sudden they're not, and you really have to kind of dig deep into being the parent that you strive to be. And I mean, I have to give most of the credit to my wife Catherine, who has been just a rock and just invaluable to me and to our daughter more specifically, and really putting herself out there while I'm kind of chasing my dreams here. So Catherine has really been incredible, but it's been a very rewarding transition overall.
Yeah. It's quite a transition just in life in general, right? And so you're balancing being a professional and then the personal life piece of it. And I remember when I had my daughter, I was a classroom teacher. I was teaching special education. And what changed for me was perspective. Like my entire perspective on understanding the parent-child relationship shifted drastically when I had my own children, because I was I was able to recognize why parents would make decisions they would, that they thought were potentially in the best interest of their children, right? And so it just gave me a different perspective of trying to be non-judgmental about parent-child relationships that I didn't have before because I didn't have a frame of reference for it. And it really helped me throughout my career to be able to reflect back on that perspective. And so that, I could come to the table with parents and families and children, without judgment and just saying, okay, let's just work together, right? Let's figure out what that looks like so that everybody can benefit. So yeah, I mean, I think having your own children just gives you a whole different perspective, not only on life, but just professionally, because you can see how it relates to other people in their lives professionally.
Absolutely. And, at Center for Living, one of our specialties is adolescents. And so,
Right. Right.
when I'm doing admissions work and I'm bringing clients in and I'm speaking to parents, it's that same sentiment that you were saying. I do come with a little bit of a different perspective of
Right.
understanding, non-judgmental, and realizing that parenting is challenging, and especially with things that you don't really expect to be dealing with, and you just, most people are just doing the best that they can.
Yeah. Especially when you get into that whole world of adolescence, which you have a little bit of time before you get there. But I'm just entering it, and I can see, my daughter who's 13, who used to love to spend time with me, wants to do everything but spend time with me now. So it's definitely interesting. So you're working in the world of substance abuse treatment, and I it's not my area of expertise, but I can certainly I can assume that it can be a difficult field to be in some capacity. So what made you want to get into that field, and how do you kind of separate that the professional and the work life from your personal life, being in a field that can be tough to be in sometimes?
Yeah, well, first, how I got into the field, as I said, I have a personal history with substance use. I'm in recovery myself, almost a decade now. And again, it was just that sentiment that, I can use my experience and my lived experience to not because I've had the same story as everybody else, but because I can identify with some of those feelings and some of those struggles, just relating into the world when you have a substance use issue. And so I felt that I not only could really help others in that way, but also that I had an obligation to kind of pay it forward. People like such as yourself and New Frontiers in Learning were so helpful to me, and now I'm in a position to help others. I don't see how I couldn't. But you're right. It's one of these fields and one of those populations where it's like a 24-hour a lot of the time, in terms of they can come in and have treatment, but their treatment doesn't stop when the therapy stops, when they leave, And so I have to be really strict with myself of separating work life, and the way I do that is a couple of things. One is I'm always there to give Luna a bath. That's like my rule, right? I have to be home, I have to give her a bath, and I have to help put her to sleep, and that's one of the things, and I try to live by that. And I really, Saturday and Sunday are for the family, and I really try to adhere to that. I mean, obviously there are some exceptions, as you said, in this work. And then, having a very supportive family and a wife who really, really understands what I'm trying to accomplish, and, that I'm really trying to help, the clients that I work with, and have her support me in that way. So all of those things combined, I somehow achieve somewhat of a work-life balance.
It's all those good executive function skills that you've developed over these years.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's, I was actually talking to my mom about this earlier this morning, knowing that I was going to do this, and she was like, "Why you didn't use them when you went to grad school?" And I was like, "Well, I was working full time and going to school. It was kind of hard to put it in, but also I didn't need to, because I had spent so much time working with you in particular on developing the skills and the confidence to be like, I can do this.
Yep.
Before I went to New Frontiers in Learning, it was like, I don't think I can do this.
Right.
I don't know if this is for me, academia,
Mm-hmm.
But then short-term success after short-term success after, passing grade after passing grade, and then you realize that you're capable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of credit goes to you guys. And I just have to mention how when you guys were growing, as I was growing with you, you guys were growing as an organization, but I was like, I'm not working with anybody but Samantha. I was like, I'm only working with Samantha.
Do you remember the times when we would have to hide from Daniel because he wanted me doing less direct service?
Yes.
So I'd say, all right, Ben, let's go over here so Daniel doesn't see us working.
Yeah, I think I was behind the door a couple times, kind of in the corner on my laptop.
That's
I know
right.
you were working, I was working.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
You develop that kind of working relationship and trust, and as I'm sure all your coaches do with their clients.
Yeah.
And you just rely on them because of how successful you've been.
But you put the hard work in too, so you have to give the credit to, we may have helped guide you there, but you were the one that did the hard work. And so, I always tell, our other clients that the reality is we can only get you so far, right? We're going to help you. We'll give you the tools and the strategies, but you're the one that has to implement them. And that buy-in and that the drive to actually want to help yourself and be successful, is just as important as the tools that you're provided. And you always had that drive, as frustrating as it got, right? And as annoying as it got, you pushed yourself through and look at how far you've come. It's wonderful. And I'm incredibly, if I haven't said it a million times, I'm incredibly proud of you. And it's really nice to see. So now we're living in a whole new world, right? This world of COVID. And, a good colleague of mine that I think John McGeehan, said to me in the beginning of COVID, he said, this is going to change the framework of mental health forever. And the effects on individuals' mental health is going to far surpass what's going to happen with regards to, illness, physical illness.
Right.
And I think in some capacity that's really, really accurate. So what have you learned about mental health, substance abuse, kind of recovery, and just treatment in that world, living in a COVID world?
I think the most significant thing I've noticed, and it's not just I've noticed, but it's been underlined, because I think somewhere we all knew this, but like, humans need other humans, and when we were all hunkered down and we were told to shelter in place or whatever, it was a lot of people went into isolation. And if you didn't have any mental health issues that you were struggling with, it was hard. And if you had mental health or substance use issues that you were struggling with, it was just unbearable. And so, it's been very detrimental, but it's also forced us to kind of adapt. And we do the best we can in the virtual world. Thankfully, it seems that we're coming out of it a little bit as of now. Right. But, we do the best we can to connect over this virtual world the way we're doing now, But yeah, humans need other humans. And, whether we want to be the introvert, or the extrovert, either way, we have to connect. And Yeah, I think that that's the biggest takeaway I have is it just was not, I didn't feel that it was as underlined as it is today. Just
Right.
how important that is, community, a sense of being part of a team, of
Hmm.
being part of a family. It's just really important.
Agreed. 100%. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
this has been so much fun. Is there anything else you would like to share with us before we
Anything else
sign
I'd
off?
share? I just, as I've said before, I wouldn't be here without you, and um, and I mean that's just the truth. And it's been a long road, and I'm excited to see what else is in store for me, and know that I have the tools in my toolbox to be able to face whatever kind of comes and whatever goals I want to complete. Um, I'm just excited that we were able to reconnect.
Me too.
I'm excited to continue to work together
Yeah,
and see what's next.
I know. Me too. This is great. This is
Yeah,
really great. And again, I can't be any more proud of you than I am. And Center for Living is so lucky to have you. You've always put 110% into everything you've done. And I know how dedicated and passionate you are about the field. And I envision that you're going to surpass anything that we or I have done. And I'm looking forward to watching that happen.
thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm thinking about going back to school, so maybe I'll give you a call.
Good for you. Good. Maybe I'll do it with you. We'll do it
Yeah,
together.
that sounds good. I would love that.
All right. Well, it was nice catching up with you.
Yeah,
Tell your family I said hi, and give the baby a big kiss from me.
I will. I
All
will.
right. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Ben. All
Okay.
right. Bye bye.
Bye.